Jesus says, "Don't think I've come to bring peace, but rather division." Why would Jesus say that? Unless it's because it's true that wherever Jesus goes, he brings division. The presence of Jesus provokes, demands a response. In this one thing, Jesus actually has something in common with our current president. That we can't honestly respond by just saying, whatever. Presidents come and go. You met one Jesus, you met them all. Whatever. There's too much at stake to respond with a non-response. Now, some say that the response that Jesus demands is a question of faith. Do you believe in Jesus or not? I don't know if that's entirely fair to Jesus. I think what he really does is he confronts us with questions about ourselves. Jesus' presence is always asking us, who are you? And what are you doing? A needy world cries out for justice, hungers and thirsts for righteousness. Are we for justice or against it? Or is our response mostly really very passive? Well, of course I'm for justice. But if we don't do anything about it, then we are complicit in injustice. Jesus says you can look at the sky and tell what the weather's going to be. Red sky in the morning, sailor take warning. And now you're trying to tell me you can't see what's going on in the world? Jesus calls us hypocrites when we say, if we ignore this long enough, I'm sure it'll blow over and everything will go back to the way it was. Jesus is saying that that is willful ignorance, part of the problem. You can't hide, says God through the prophet. You are God's, says God through the psalmist. Act like it. We have a power and with it a responsibility to care for the needy and to call out the wicked. What do we do when we find ourselves caught up in conflict and division, especially when it gets close to home? What do we do with that? I think most of the time we are probably conflict adverse. I totally get that. We say, well, if we can't just get over it and move on, then let's get over it and move on. Doesn't work. Or sometimes maybe we say, well, everyone is entitled to their opinion. Everyone has a right to an opinion. Well, listen, if I say, I don't like chocolate ice cream, and I don't think they should sell it, you can say, well, you're entitled to your opinion. Doesn't rock my world. But if I were to say, you can't trust Muslims, and I don't think they should be here, we can't brush that off as just an opinion. That demands a conversation, a difficult and probing conversation. Are we having the conversation? Sometimes there's just no more room to agree to disagree. Jesus comes on the scene and his presence pushes this question to us. Who are you? What are you doing? What is your priority? And don't we owe it to ourselves, and to each other, and to God to answer with integrity? Amen.